Hello, welcome to Individual Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Daris D, McKinney, and we are back. Happy New Year's, everybody. 2025, we're in it. We're in it with a little messy situation with this New Orleans massacre. It's a terrible situation, but I wanted to give you guys a good bird's eye view on everything and update you from the previous two clips that I released over the last 24 hours or so. So it's a lot of information that came out, um, information that the media was leaking or saying, and additional to that, things that wasn't kind of, I would say, um, finalized, and it was reported, and now it's things that need to be somewhat retract. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even say really retract because I think it still stands up to scrutiny, but like that he's an illegal immigrant or something like that crossing over the border. I understand why it was reported like that, and then I had to report it to you guys like that, and that's because the truck that he was using was a like a Turo, you know, ride share, or like a rental, like a independent rental thing. So somebody could have rented it to go to Mexico or something like that. So they rented it, brought it back like earlier this month or something, just to kind of, do business or whatever they were doing out there. And then when it came back and he wanted to rent it, he rented it for the time of the New Year's Eve and everything like that. And so it totally had nothing to do with each other. But it's some information that does have something to do with each other, and they're trying to sweep it under the rug. So we'll talk about that, and we'll go through pretty much everything, and even I got to even have the patience to even go to catch myself up from yesterday, because I did reporting on this. If you look at my podcast feed, you'll see that I did a couple reportings of it. Then I had to go be with some family members, very very important family members, for you know making sure everything is good, and we bringing in a New Year's Eve. I mean, we're bringing in a New Year's really productive and everything like that. So now I'm here to kind of communicate to you guys what's the latest in the situation. So I think it's just best to just jump on in. But how you guys doing? My name is Daris D McKinney. This is Individual Perspective Podcast, and our goal here is to give you objectivity to your analysis, objectivity to your perceptions, and whatever you perceive and whatever your perspective is, it will stand up to scrutiny for decades to come, because you don't communicate. The mindset of individual perspective does not allow for you to communicate falsely, inaccurately. You have to communicate, and whatever you lay on the marker right now, and the moments you're living in now, 10 years from now, you will go back to it and it will hold up to scrutiny. The communication that you gave to your family members or friends or culture or something like that, it will hold up to scrutiny 10 to 20 years from now. So, but how does it do that? It holds up to scrutiny because you have vetted everything that you're ingesting. Any information from the media, the news, podcasts, or social influencers, your heroes, politicians, your siblings, your mama, your daddy, everybody. You're kind of vetting it, and then once you vet it and you find it to be true and honest and integrable, then and what has integrity to it, and then you are allowed to advocate, to communicate it yourself, in your own way and everything like that. But you don't do that. You don't open your mouth. You don't give a person advice. You don't tell them a perspective of how you look at something if it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. No one wants to know people's ideas. No one wants to know people's feelings. That's your own personal situation. When you're communicating in public, it's to give philosophical belief. It's to give information that holds up to the test of time. So I understand. I wanted to kind of squeeze all that in there to let you guys understand what we do here at Individual Perspective Podcast, and what I do. That thought process that I just talked about, that mindset that I just talked about. I talk about anything. in social media, social dynamics of relationships and culture, the media, the news, whatever the latest news is. I use that same mindset and vetting to even communicate to you guys about things and stuff. So when you come back and look at my podcast in 10, 20 years from now, if you just come across it then because you don't watch it now, you will see that it holds up to scrutiny. Okay? So let's get started.
I do have another witness on the phone. Jimmy, are you with us? Can you briefly just describe what you heard, what you saw? Take us through everything that you witnessed on Bourbon Street there.
So Bourbon Street, like he said, probably about 3:10 a.m. We were heading towards Canal, which is the way the truck was coming towards us. We ducked off into a nightclub because we weren't sure what was going on at the other end, and it looked like just nothing we wanted to see. So we just ducked off into a club. By the time we got in, 5 girls had ran in frantically and hid under chairs. So us knowing where we were, we ran upstairs to the balcony to make it less available if something was following inside. And what we witnessed was body after body mangled, just as far as you could see. We counted 10, and at least 6 were instantly, clearly deceased. And they were trying to get everybody just to stay inside, but everyone had just completely disappeared. Like, after these people ran over, I think we were the only ones outside on the balcony, and we took video just for the sheer shock. Like, you don't see stuff like that on city streets. Yeah. And just no one was helping them. Like, that was kind of the first crazy thought we had, is why is no one helping them? They wouldn't let us out. And obviously, like I told you, some were very clearly deceased, but others were yelling out. And it's a lot to process.
Yeah. And I can hear that shock in your voice. Obviously, this had to be horrific to witness. I mean, I imagine that you were there celebrating, with your friends, your loved ones, ringing in the new year. And then to see and to watch all of this unfold, what was going through your mind, Jimmy?
Shock. Like, it looked like something out of a movie, the way these bodies were mangled. And we had just seen this one girl outside dancing when we were walking up. And not to be too graphic, but she was flattened. Like, this was a full-size F-150 4x4, and this girl didn't even look human. And then another one had to be a mother. She was dead in front of us, right at my feet, just twisted, her skull. I mean, I could just keep going. Another gentleman, he was for sure deceased. He actually had tire tracks over his stomach and back when they were trying to finally check on him. And another woman had got her legs pinned. When he run her over, half her body was on the street, half her body was on the curb. So she obviously was very broken, but still breathing at that moment. Yeah. These people are never going to wake up.
Okay. Yeah, that is very descriptive. Get what I'm saying? It's pretty brutal, and gotta understand what's the real visuals out there, because the media, and if you go on X, you kind of get a lot of this real coverage, real actual information of it. You know what I mean? It may be hard for you to look at, but it's there. You know what I mean? But the media, they have decided how they're gonna give information to us and what's the best for us. You know what I mean? So and it's just why I say podcasters got to understand the place that they play in the time that we're living in right now. You're not here to be innocent bystanders. You're not here to just kind of have fun and do your stupid Patreons and memberships and stuff like that. It's to give information. You know what I mean? It makes no difference if you like Samuel, Kevin Samuels, and you die, and you got a bunch of content that's in your Patreon that could have made the world a better place. But you know what I mean? I understand that you got to monetize yourself and everything like that. But sooner or later, you got to understand that information makes the world a better place. It actually gets the world to the end results that you may psychologically or philosophically think that the world needs to get to. But if you're kind of telling a person, hey, you got to really believe in yourself, and you leave it there and you say, well, if you want to know how to believe in yourself and what you need to do to believe in yourself, go to my Patreon, go to my memberships, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. But there's a consequences to that too. It's a flip side to that too. And it means that the average people that need the help, that need to actually understand how psychologically they've been manipulated, how psychologically they've been taught to go against themselves. That information, you need to just make sure that it's out there. It's out there for any average person to grab. Why? Because the end results will actually it would actually play a factor in the long run, in the bigger picture. But I have understood, and I'm not saying this, and I don't want podcasters and social influencers to think that I'm not for them doing Patreons and memberships or something. I just think that when you do that, you're kind of defeating the purpose of what your existence is, and I guess, and for me, it took me a second to understand that it's a every man for himself culture that we live in. It's a I would destroy you for my own stability kind of culture. And that culture breeds just the extremity of human behavior. You get what I'm saying? Because you either win or you lose. So the counteracting of an advanced society of losing is radical, spontaneous, emotional outbursts. And that's what leads to a lot of the stuff like this crazy stuff where people, the definition of their life is what they think the culture think the definition of their life, but they don't have enough and like self-retainment and self-regulation to actually stop themselves from understanding that, it's not that society's against you. Society is what it is. The culture is what it is. Human behavior is what it is. And you got to navigate your way through it. But the bad part about that is a lot of people, we navigate our way through life, kind of finding out as we go that a lot of people that we interacted with was bad for us. You get what I'm saying? And then you got to recoup from that if you're able to. Most people would never be able to, they probably married a person and this person was never a good person for them or a good person. And now you have kids and everything, and now you're somewhat nudged together or inseparable technically for like 20, 30 years and stuff. And then you want a life after that. And who's going to come into that situation? It's too wounded. It's too messy. You could never know where the line is between your baby daddies or your baby mamas and all that stuff like that, and your past relationships, your ex-wife or your ex-husband and all that crazy stuff. You never know where the line is blurred at. And so things will come up, maybe not in the first year, maybe not in the fifth year, maybe not in the 10th year, but it will come up, and it's coming up because of you got those tides to you that when a person comes into your life, it plays a factor. And that's what that's what they're deciding to bring in too. So I say this because as we go through this whole thing, you'll see peaks of this and I'm saying that my way of even improving myself is just to do it. Just to do what I got planned. I got an agenda that I'm implementing for this year. And it's not for me to think about doing that agenda. I did that in December and last year. And now everything effective of 12 midnight, December 30th, I kind of put it in. I initiated it. It's already. I'm already on it. So part of like a New Year's resolution that you may say is to be not that this is what I'm gonna do. No, this is what I'm already doing, and all I gotta do is stick to it. My resolution is to stick to what I already put in motion. That's it. And this is gonna make it where I divide myself. I take myself away from certain environments, certain relationships, and move my life forward and move where I want forward. Because I think I did some really great stuff in the time that that's been in the recent time and everything. And for me, if anybody second guess the advancement that was done, they're not second guessing it because I didn't do it. They're second guessing it because they don't want me to have value of what I accomplished. They want me to look at it as it's not as valuable on its own without the existence of the relationship with other people. But the truth of the matter is, that's for people that are spectators. That are people that are lukewarm doers. You know what I mean? If you're a doer, you have what you did. You accomplish what you accomplished, and it is what it is, and it's in a realistic valuation as it is. And anything else is just psychological manipulation and rhetoric and just things that people communicate to try to make you doubt what's real. You know what I mean? So I did an episode that I called what I think it was called the cesspool island of dubious sanctimonious personalities. And that's what I think the internet has a bunch of people like that. And then you're meeting these people in your personal life too, because they're probably in social media endeavors, and how they lingo is, how they communicate is so much in the psychosis of social media and the modern day stuff. But what does it makes these people where they're the way that they move and the way that they philosophically communicate how they move, they make it look like they so moral, like they're so morally conscious, but really it's like it's manipulation that they're moral. Because when you see what they actually the actions that they take and the actions that they do and what they're specifically doing, you'll see that it's like a arrogance and egomaniac and self-indulgent, and they'll be where it's for the best interest of them. But when they communicate, they act like they're like, oh, I'm trying to help everybody. I'm trying to help the world. I'm trying to help the culture. I'm trying to help our people and all that stuff like that. But really, the way you see them move, they try to pick your bones on your dead corpse. They like eating your flesh. That's what they're doing. So once you understand that, you understand that the stuff that's coming out of a sanctimonious person's mouth, going to church, talking about they Christian and all this stuff like that, but at the same time their actions are not stable in structure and strong foundation. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta see that. And I'm only using Christianity as an example because I think it happens there the most. I think people that call themselves Christian and they call themselves believing in Jesus and God and everything and walking the path of God and stuff, they're the most sanctimonious, materialistic people in the world. And it's just like, I'm not saying don't have great comfort and great outcome and make sure the mobility of your family is well taken care of and all the other stuff. I'm just saying that what people do to upkeep something that doesn't matter momentarily, You want things that you do to magnify, to be longevity, to be where it sustains you forever. If it sustains you to pay your rent to the man or something like that, you need to kind of put that money towards a mortgage, not to sustain a company or somebody else's apparatus. You know what I'm saying? Or company. You know, so if you're gonna go 10 years in renting and all that other stuff, then did you sacrifice some of those months to put your fingers into some investment or some technology or some investment or whatever you're doing, or even some like a venture? That way you can have some of your money in the last 10 years do something for you. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm like, if I ever was able to advance a person, you got to understand what makes a product a product. A product is a product when it's a product that's actually valuable in the market. How's a product valued? A prototype is not valued in the market. It's just a prototype. A product is valuable in the market. That means it's something that could be consumed. So I don't want to get into this, but I mean, I do, but I want you guys to understand it's not out of the context of this massacre, because when you hear the whole story of even, it's just people they never transition from the problem or the situation. You got to take a bird's eye view on your value and then respect yourself for your value. Don't let someone else tell you what your value is, because that's noise, and that the context may not be there. You know, I always tell people, remember the conversations and the interactions that I have with you, because that's the context I'm in. I'm not in the conversation we having right now. That's in addition to the context of what we already talked about. So that way, when I'm communicating with you, I don't have to repeat years of conversations or years of strategy or years of psychosis that is part of why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm moving and why I'm moving. It's not out of nowhere. It's in the context of, this always been me. This always the context. This always how I told you that I was going to execute on the goal. Not how you think I'm executing the goal today. It's how I always said I was going to execute on the goal. And that's more stable and fruitful than a innocent bystander that's just there to complain and pontificate and theorize on the end results. A person that can get the end results is the person that actually put themselves in a situation to be able to make an end result. And I'm saying this because as we look at the media and we look at the news, how they cover stuff, you're not seeing that we gotta watch MSNBC, we gotta watch CNN, we gotta watch Fox News, we gotta watch all the major platforms. You don't. But at the same time, I do understand why the public and the most layman media, the most layman person still ingests the industry's content. And it's because podcasters, they won't really give you the news. They just kind of give you like their ego. You know what I mean? And it's all spread across whatever they reporting, their ego. You get what I'm saying? So let's go to the next clip.
And witness Dan McPhee was on Bourbon Street when the attack happened, says he witnessed it. I want to bring Dan on to talk a little bit more about that. And Dan, first of all, I'm so sorry to you that you had to see this and that this was how you're starting off your new year. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what you saw?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it's another clipping of it, or is this different? Let's see.
Dan, police are saying...
Yeah, so I think it's just, I had a shorter clip and it's a longer clip, I guess. That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe they had him do the interview 2 times. Okay, but let's go to the next clip.
Breaking news all day long. We are expecting an update from authorities at 2 p.m. Eastern on last night's chilling attack in New Orleans. The FBI is investigating the incident as an act of terrorism. At least 10 people were killed when an individual drove a truck into a busy crowd of people on Bourbon Street. At least 35 others have been reported injured. Following the crash, the suspect got out of the vehicle, opened fire on police, wounding 2 of them. Police say the suspect is dead, and FBI sources telling Fox that the suspect's truck had Texas plates. It is unclear if the truck crossed the border, but it was placed near Eagle Pass, Texas, back on November 16th. It changed ownership at some point between then and now. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kennedy, and joining me today on the couch, we've Kins.
Yeah, that's the reporting of that. I don't want to hear commentary, people, because it's just a bunch of personalities. They just say what they feel about what they just got to communicating on the news, or what she just got to reporting. Her what they call that introduction, or they call it a monologue. So that's the information. I really don't like the commentary stuff no more. I really don't like when they report the news of, like, okay, this is what's reported. Now let's have Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives say how we feel about what was reporting. No, I'll be my own commentary. I don't need you guys to do any commentary. Next clip.
The FBI has just released the name of the alleged attacker in the awful New Orleans tragedy that happened just around 3 a.m. on New Year's Day. 10 people killed, around 3 dozen injured. That attacker, who drove into the crowd in a white pickup truck and then engaged in a gun battle with police before the attacker, was shot dead, has been named as 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar. We are told he is a U.S. citizen and he is from Texas. Justice correspondent David Spunt is live at the White House with the latest. David, how did the FBI make this determination?
Well, the FBI either is going to classify this as domestic terrorism or international terrorism. We know that Shamsud Din Jabbar, who's the suspect, the 42-year-old, was born in the United States. He is a U.S. citizen born here. So perhaps this will be domestic terrorism, but we don't want to get ahead of that. We're going to get some update from authorities within the next 45 minutes or so. We know that there was an ISIS flag that was found in the vehicle. Perhaps there may be more that gave authorities some sort of inkling as to why this is terrorism, although an ISIS flag, I think, is a pretty clear indication for why the FBI, Jonathan, just hours after this attack happened, the FBI came back and said, listen, this is being investigated as an act of terrorism. As for the White House, President Biden is not here. He's at Camp David with the First Lady. We heard brief remarks from him on the tarmac today. He spent the night in Wilmington New Year's Eve and made this statement, though he didn't say much, but I do want to play it.
You've all got my statement. I'll have more to say in the next hour or so following what's going on in New Orleans. I'll be happy to do that.
Do you understand if the person crossed the border?
I'm not going to comment on any specific yet at all. I've contacted every agency in the federal government as well as the state. They're all coordinating to get to the bare facts. We know what the facts are.
Can you say if he was a foreigner or if he was a domestic?
I'm not going to say anything until I get all the facts in front of me.
Has the suspect been identified?
Again, I'm not going to comment till I speak to the group later. I've spoken to every member of the agency from this.
Born in the United
States. See, I want you guys to understand, he is the president, okay? He is the president. His communication advisors, they can advise him how to comment on something and why he should comment on it like that, but he don't have to do that. He's the leader. He's the driver. He's the actual one that's in control. He understands the bigger picture of everything: communication, law enforcement. That's why the president is such a powerful position, because you have to have a good enough brain to be able to psychologically or even technically and data driven and analyze why the FBI need to do what they doing, the CIA need to be doing what they doing, the Pentagon needs to be doing what they doing, intelligence need to be doing what they doing, medical needs to be doing what they're doing, assistance to the living of society, why the staffs and the departments that does that need to be doing what they're doing, and so on and so on and so on. He needs to be able to say, tell me what you guys gonna do. Okay, I like that plan. That's a good plan. Go do it. That's for everything in the country. Okay, so when they asking him questions like that's just very logical questions. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to the people. I'm not waiting till you guys officially announce it at a stupid press conference. Had a press conference a long time ago. Once you found it out from me, you should have already communicated it to them. So if the people ask me a question, I'm just gonna answer the question. Do you understand? Do you know have you identified the suspect? Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna let the New Orleans reveal the information to you guys, but yes, he has been identified. Why you? Oh, I'm not gonna repeat anything until blah blah blah. I'm in a systematic mode right now. They told me don't do this, don't do that, and do it like this. You're the president. You're the president, dude. What's wrong with you? It's ridiculous.
United States. He is a U.S. citizen born here, so perhaps this will be domestic terrorism, but we don't want to get ahead of that. We're going to get some update from authorities within the next 45 minutes or so. We know that there was an ISIS flag that was found in the vehicle. Perhaps they're with the First Lady. We heard brief.
I'll be happy to do that.
Do you understand if the person crossed the border?
I'm not going to get to the bare facts. We know what the facts are.
Can you say if you're a foreigner or if you was domestic?
I'm not going to say anything until I get all the facts in front of me.
Has the suspect been identified?
Again, I'm not going to comment till I speak to the group later. I've spoken to every member of the agency.
You guys know that he's been identified. So if we getting the information that he's been identified and they're playing old recording of him before he loaded onto the plane, and it's literally like maybe 30 minutes to an hour before he loaded onto the plane. So if the news after that 30 minutes to an hour after he loaded up on the plane, they already telling you what the guy's name is, that means that Biden and them knew it when the guy was on the ground dead, and they were looking through his pockets and they was looking at who rented the car and who, like, what's the situation with this car, and then the person said, hey, well, this guy rented that from me. They already knew who the guy was, like literally within an hour or 2 hours at the most. Before they gave the first press conference, they knew who he was. So, of course, they're going to tell President Biden who it is. So, at the time when he's talking about this on the tarmac, he knows who it is. So, you don't got to say the person's name if you want to wait to New Orleans government, the mayor and all them, police chief and all that stuff. If you want to have them release the guy's name, you don't have to lie or manipulate the public or like even the news reporters and journalists. It's actually the question. Just say yes. We have common sensely tells you that of course we know who this guy is. You get what I'm saying? So I'm waiting for the authorities in New Orleans to release it to you guys. But yes, absolutely, I know who it is. They gave me the information. They know who the information is. I wouldn't be briefed on it without them having the information of that. I'm the president. You know what I'm saying? We kill and murder presidents and government officials in other countries with our spies. So of course I know who this guy is. It's just the reason why I'm being like this, y'all, because you guys gotta want something better than how people are communicating with you. Our politicians, our media, our news outlets, podcasters, social influencers, you guys gotta comprehension and how to apply what you comprehend and what you learn, information that you learn, and the vetting process of vetting information that you're learning and you're hearing and you're reading. and to make sure you know what's the true context of the situation that you just read or you heard or you seen. You learn this in like 5th grade. You learn some complexities of it maybe in a little bit in middle school and high school and stuff like that. But I'll say from 10 years old to 18 years old, you pretty much know everything and how to actually have the natural ability to do everything a senator does, everything a president does. You already have the ability to do it, to fine tune it and hone it specifically for certain moments and certain times and certain executions and moments, or like, let's say, situations. That's something that's wisdom gives you, and that's time. So that's why they always say you can't be a president. The Constitution said that you can't be a president if you're under the age of 35. Why? Because you need a little moment for wisdom to kick in, for your experience to have some wisdom to it, your interactions to have some wisdom to it. Most people that would even have the guts, though, to decide that I want to be a president, they got a lot of time that they interact with a lot of people, a lot of scenarios, and they got a big, broad philosophical spectrum on a lot of the different interactions of life. And that allows for them to go into the presidency, and someone briefs them on the CIA, briefs them on certain situations and certain missions that the CIA is doing. And when you hear it, you could comprehend what that means, what they saying they're doing, and you can ask questions for in-depth explanations and stuff like that. And then you could say, stop that, or keep going. Good job. That's the best this is, y'all. So if a president is on that level and accomplishing on that level with from 10 years old to 17 years old, and it's all experience afterwards, then what do you think about an anchor? Because they can read a teleprompter real fast. They've been reading it for 10,000 hours. So sooner or later, you repetitiously, redundantly do a job. You can actually keep doing it and get faster and better and improve on it. That's why they always say, if you want to really be professional at something, do it for 10,000 hours. So I want you guys to understand, why are you guys respecting social influencers, podcasters, news media, presidents, politicians, celebrities, movie stars, singers, philosophical, motivational speakers? Why are you guys respecting them so much more than you respect yourself? And the tactics of things that they're teaching you are redundant interactions and redundant experience. You get what I'm saying? Or that they done something for 10,000 hours. You understand you have the power to criticize them or to hold them up to a standards that gives value to you. So that's all I want to. I know I'm going into this, but I really don't like how information is given to the layman person. You get what I'm saying?
You see, from the CIA to our national security team to our FBI, NSC, and we're gathering all the, and I spent a lot of time with the government, with the mayor.
What was your reaction when you heard what happened?
Well, the reaction was one of anger and frustration. Thank you.
One of anger and frustration. That's before we heard the name Shamsuddin Jabbar, the 42-year-old from the Texas area, from Houston, Texas area.
And another reason why I'm ranting and raving like this, guys, because, ladies and gentlemen, because he's 42 years old, born and raised in America. I don't know if they're gonna release it in this report, but I know it's a report that I got in one of these clips that I'm about to play. He's actually been in the military as a tech analyst for a decade or so, if I'm not mistaken. So what's the situation here? Yes, I already know. It's almost like rhetorical, or I've been facetious. I already know what I'm gonna say about this guy, but I'm gonna let the reporting drive me to my narrative. I'm trying. I get triggered a lot.
should say, a American-born citizen. We're going to be getting some more updates a little bit later. We do know also that this truck was potentially rented in the Houston area, so working to find the exact provenance of the truck and where the truck was before a little bit more. But we know that there was an ISIS flag found in the truck, and we're hoping to get many more details because, after all, the last details that we got from law enforcement on the record, on camera, were about 7:30 this morning. So we're eagerly awaiting that update. Back to you.
David, you've been breaking so much news on this story today, this terrible story. I wonder if your sources at DOJ have talked to you at all about the potential for this being a copycat attack. Because I look back at that attack in Germany just a couple of weeks ago on the Christmas market. It was a man who was born in Saudi Arabia, had spent, I think it was something like 2 decades in Germany before he was somehow radicalized and carried out this attack. Is the FBI looking at potential similarities there? I assume they must be.
Oh, always, absolutely. Copycat attacks are something that we've asked about and something they're concerned about. Local law enforcement in Philadelphia, in New York, Los Angeles, any really big city or small city across the country that has any sort of gathering would be concerned about any potential copycat attack. In New Orleans, even though there were barricades, unfortunately, this tragedy was able to happen. So this certainly has other law enforcement agencies buckling down and the FBI continuing to watch just to make sure that there is no other sort of copycat attack like this. Jonathan.
David, we're grateful to have you there at the White House and, of course, your unmatched contacts at the Department of Justice today.
Okay, so that's the end of that reporting. Okay, let's go to another one.
Bring back in Paul Morrow, Fox News contributor, former NYPD inspector, and an attorney, of course. Paul, what did you make of the news conference there? I was very interested to hear them repeatedly refer, or at least imply, that there are several other suspects here.
Yeah, that was the main takeaway, I think. And they did not caveat that, although they only seem to have indications of the fact that there are others involved. But the fact that they would come out so strongly and say, public, help us, lets me know that they right now might not have anything solid, at least as they went to press. But you can guarantee that they are scraping very hard at that. The way these things work now is that you work backwards. You want to see associations. My gut tells me they're seeing some associations. And Senator Kennedy's language seems to imply to me that he feels maybe there was a footprint that could have been picked up. If there are that many people involved, usually there's some indicia of a cell. There's always fraying at the edges. Certain things get out. And I'm wondering, and this is just speculation, I want to be clear, but given his body language and his language at the lectern, I'm wondering if they
interested in the...
Yeah, like they're talking about the pulse comprehension of a press conference. So I'd rather go to the press conference. That way we don't have to hear a bunch of talking heads talk about what was already communicated. I only want to give communication of what's going on, what's the factual data of the news, what did the mayor say, what did the senators of that city or that state say, what did the governor say, what did the police department say, what did the FBI say, and then I'll do an analysis of it that leaves it out of speculation, leaves it out of like objectivity analysis that won't, or I can't even say objectivity. I wouldn't mind playing them having a conversation, or because I know that it's truthful. They're saying things that are not truthful. It's all speculation. So the subjective analysis. So it has no value to the American people. I'd rather you guys, and I guess they do that for time and news coverage and all that stuff. But for my podcast, I'm gonna let's go to the communication of it.
As we await here a news conference with local and federal officials, we believe, on the ongoing investigation into the tragic attack in New Orleans. This is Fox News live coverage of the terror attack, the New Year's Day terror attack.
Yeah, he's got to stop because she's talking.
As we await here a news conference.
This investigation is... Law enforcement returned finding on the subject of...
Now, this lady that's talking, she's the FBI agent. And when it first started, she the mayor called it a terrorist attack, and then the police department, they kind of, the police chief, they kind of echoed pretty much what the mayor said, and then they called her up, and this is the first press conference they had, and you guys see it in the previous episodes that I had, and they called her up, and then she said, "Oh, this is not a terrorist attack." Guy got a big giant truck mowing down people, and then he props a flag on the end of the truck next to the license plate, where like you're supposed to be able to put like a trailer and have a trailer holster on the back of the truck. He put a flag up there, and it was an ISIS flag while he was mowing down people, while he was running over people. The ISIS flag is waving. They wrapped that flag up and put a gray like blanket over it. So as they're doing the investigation and the photos, they didn't allow for the media to take pictures of it. After it was all said and done, the law enforcement put over some kind of black tape or black bag or something. I mean, a gray bag or something over it to kind of tape it up and hold the flag down, so we wouldn't even know what it was. But they had to admit to us that it was a ISIS flag. You get what I'm saying? So for her to say early in the morning that it's absolutely not a terrorist attack, and the actual mayor and the police chief said it was. Why did they say that? Because they seen the ISIS flag on the back of the truck while he was mowing people down. And when they walked, after they killed him and they looked at the flag, they covered it up because the FBI came on there and they tried to isolate and paint a narrative that they would thought that was good for the people, because they're like, well, we don't know if he's really with ISIS. He might be a sympathizer with ISIS. They all sympathizer with ISIS, you stupid bitch. You get what I'm saying? This is the problem with, like, and I'm sorry, maybe I'll cut that out, but look, this is the problem with how we allow the people that work for the people to communicate with us. And they feel like we're going to let you look at life the way that we perceive that's best for us to allow for you to look at life and the media and how we communicate. But it got so bad that it became knowing that it had an ISIS flag and he was an ISIS sympathizer, that now they have to give a little bit more communication to him being a terrorist. Now is a debate: is he a domestic terrorist or is he an ideological ISIS terrorist? It's wild stuff, man. So I just want you to know who she was, because really she has no credibility no more. She shouldn't even be talking. They should have replaced her with another FBI agent that didn't destroy her credibility at the first press conference.
Day terror attack in New Orleans. Let's listen now to the officials.
I'm going to provide you some facts and information about what we do know. I know that all of you will have questions, and we will try to provide some answers. But this is an ongoing investigation that's rapidly evolving. So there are some questions I will be unable to answer at this time. The FBI is the lead investigative agency, and we're investigating this as an attack of terrorism, along with our partners. Today at approximately 3:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, an individual drove a pickup truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing at least 10 individuals and injuring dozens more. After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. 2 law enforcement officers were injured and transported to local hospitals. The subject has been identified as 42-year-old Samsud Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented, and we are working to confirm how the subject came in possession of this vehicle. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations.
Nah, boy, she had to say everything. I should go get that clip where she kind of was an idiot, but look, it's in the previous episode. So, trust me. You think I'm being a meanie to her, but I'm not. If I have to look it up, I will. I'll bring it back into the clips, but she really stepped on her she really stepped on herself by like saying this is not a terrorist act. Like, it's like, why would you say something so absolute like that? And you're only like an hour excuse me, she was only like maybe 5 hours or so from when it just happened. Why would you put yourself out there like that? You get what I'm saying? So I'm trying to give me 1 second, let me look and see. Trying to see where actual footage was, or conversation was about what she gave. It was pretty early too. You know, because I always like to be in context here, guys. I like to make sure that I'm not giving crazy rhetoric that may be in and out, calling people out their name and stuff. And you might look at me as I'm ghetto and I'm not really a substantial person or person with credibility because I'm emotionally ranting and raving about the way that they communicate with us. And I'm pretty like a wild person about it, you know what I mean? But I really don't like when the powers that be lies to us. Okay, here it goes. This is it right here. Oh yeah. Yeah, see? Credibility. And I'm addicted to credibility, y'all. I'm addicted to making sure that you stand up to scrutiny when you open your mouth. So I'm gonna come back to this this little press conference. But I want you to know when she thought she was the magnum opus, the magnum opus, with how she destroyed her own credibility, okay? Check this out.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here.
Okay, keep that in mind.
At this time,
that's the actual governor. I mean the mayor. That's the mayor.
It was not a DUI.
That's the mayor saying that, and she wants you to know first thing up, this is a terrorist attack. So they was arguing with FBI or something in the back. Age. This is bright and early. This is before the sun came up and everything. So it had to be literally like 6-7 o'clock in the morning at the latest, because by 8 o'clock the sun is up. But this is dark, so this had to be literally. If it happened around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, the EMS would have been on location, and then the detectives and all that stuff, they would come on maybe about 5 o'clock or so, and then that would give them enough room to even set a press conference up maybe 6 or 7 o'clock. That's your common sense. That's objectivity. When you're thinking about something and you're going out to say something, even what I just said will hold up to scrutiny. Even if it's all theorized, if we go track this back, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm pretty sure they got the time on the screen somewhere. But anyway, this is I want to keep track of what's going on here, y'all.
It's all still under investigation.
Let me let her come in and say it right.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However,
she said you'll hear more after me, meaning that I'm going to say this to the people because I want to say this to the people, and this is how pissed I am about this sick person doing this killing and stuff like that. And if you guys want to have an objection to it, do it when you do your speech. But I'm the mayor. I have the right to tell the people how I feel about it. So I give her credit for that.
I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry.
Meaning that they already know who the people is. Even effective of talking to the White House at 6-7 in the morning, they already knew who the guy was. Trust me, they not gonna not know the guy's identity. It ain't like you gotta. It's like a DNA test or some kind of what they call that DNA test, or it's not like it's like a drug toxic screening or something that they gotta see what you got in your body and stuff like that to find out what your identity is. No, while you're laying on the ground, in each cop car, they have a thing where they can actually walk up to you and place your fingerprints on it, and it'll tell you who the person is. Additional to that, there is ways that they can look it up. If he don't got his ID in his pocket, they can look at the license plate, see where the license plate is registered to, and then look who that person is registered to, and that then talk to that person. And then when that person says like, "Oh, that don't look like that person," they call that person, and that person says, "Oh, he rented this. That gentleman rented the car from me from this," and they'll find that all out in the first, like literally the first hour. Okay, so they kind of knew who it was. So when she's talking to the White House and she's talking to the governor, they kind of know who the guy is and all the other stuff. But they really pissed about the black flag, ISIS flag on the back of the truck. So they kind of know that, and that pissed her off. That made her absolute about it being a terrorist attack, and that's why her saying it like that, meaning that she had conflict with somebody telling her, you probably don't want to say that it's we advise you that it might not be good for you to say that it's a terrorist attack yet. But no, she like, nah, I think because even when you see her on the screen, when she says that it's a terrorist attack and it's still under investigation, and you may hear more from other people that might that's going to be talking after me. And then you see that the actual chief, the chief lady, she looked over to her right, the dumb FBI agent girl, and because obviously it's a conflict there. Okay, so I just want you guys to pay attention to this stuff.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who have lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy. In addition to that, I'm asking the public to stay clear of 8 blocks around Bourbon Street. Stay clear from Bourbon Street, 8 blocks around. Very active, and again, a unified command is in place right now. I'm going to ask Chief Kirkpatrick to give you an update. You're then going to hear from our agent in charge relative to the FBI. So at this time, Chief Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give you as much of the information I possibly can. We are going to give you an update a couple of times today. So we will give you just the basics this morning, all right? We had this event started at about 3:15.
Okay.
At a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now.
See?
With respect to numbers,
So we don't need to hear all that, but that let you know that they want people to know that this ain't no accident. This ain't just no crazy random thing that happened. This is specific, and it's intentional. So now let's go listen to the dumb FBI agent. Okay. Stupid boss babe.
Charge. This is Agent Duncan, Special Agent Duncan, and she has taken over this case on behalf of.
They come in and they take over because it's an FBI terrorist act and stuff like that. For you to even take over it, you got to classify it as a terrorist act, not just a random wild guy. Okay, so it's this is how corrupt the FBI is, all the way down. It's not the top agents. This is all the way down to a don't even get me started.
us and the FBI. As always, we will be in partnership with all of our partners. But Agent Duncan, if you want to have a few words for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Alethea Duncan. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for FBI New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event.
Why would she say that knowing that the mayor said that it was a terrorist event? Why would you step on her like that? Why would you disrespect her like that? You could say she's got her, obviously she's well educated and she's well spoken, so she know how to articulate herself with her, her very suburban tone to her. So obviously she's highly educated and very communicative. Why not just say, we are looking into if this is a terrorist act. It's things that might apply that it might be a terrorist act, but we can't 100% confirm that with you at this moment. We are doing an investigation. She could say that to just specifically say this is not a terrorist event. That totally steps on the mayor and the mayor communicating this is a terrorist act. That's confrontational. She's being confrontational with the mayor. That's what she's doing. That's why I'm taking you back to it.
Special Agent in charge for FBI New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative...
I'm sorry, the audio is pretty low. Just want to kind of see why is it like that. What's going on here? What's going on with my audio? What's going on with my audio?
Is there improvised explosive devices that...
With all of our partners. But Agent Duncan, if you want to have a few words for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Alethea Duncan. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge.
Coming in all arrogant.
New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is there improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street.
Okay, so that just lets you see how confrontational she was. So let's go back to the updated press conference. This is another one that they're giving as we speak, but this is all you really need to know. So let me play this for you.
Weapons and potential improvised explosive devices, IEDs, were located in the subject's vehicle. Other potential IEDs were also located. Rapidly evolving. So there are some questions I will be unable to answer at this time. The FBI is the lead investigative agency, and we're investigating this as an attack of terrorism along with our partners.
So when she decided to go off, like literally jump the gun and say that it's not a terrorist event, you don't know if it's not a terrorist event, so you have to leave an ambiguity that it might be and it may not be. But she didn't do that. She had an absolution to it. And she should have got spanked on her hand and put back on the bench and had somebody else take over because her credibility is shot. 2, your credibility shot is because you stepped on the communication of the mayor that really felt hurt by what happened to her citizens. And she communicated the truth and objective analysis. So if she just said something that they had none of concrete and it was emotional and it was inaccurate, it will hold up to scrutiny that she would be inaccurate. But guess what? This stupid FBI agent had to adjust to the mayor's narrative because the mayor's perception of what was going on stood up to scrutiny and the test of time. But this FBI agent had to change her narrative to go more to the narrative that the mayor had hours and a day ago. This is why our FBI agency is corrupt. This is not this person. They've been doing this for the last 12 years. Like terrible mistakes and retractions that with the test of time, they had to change what they perceive or what they put out previously before. in all kind of different investigations and everything. Do your homework with this. So I'm just nailing her so you guys know this is how the FBI, our government, our elites, and the media has been pandering to the government agencies so much that they won't stop and analyze the terrible structure and operation that's going on in the FBI agency and CIA, and it's in the NSA, and it's in the Pentagon also. We got a cesspool of messy people in that stuff. So I'm just showing you how ridiculous. Within 24 hours, she had to submit to the mayor's perception, then the mayor and the evidence submitting to this FBI's perception of things, or rhetoric, or the psychological manipulation of the date of the information. So when they couldn't even find a way to manipulate this guy to just be some lone, wild, arrogant, dumb guy, they had to start the structure like, oh man, they had the flag. Yeah, we got to say that it was ISIS situation, and that this guy is, he's a Muslim, and okay, it's a terrorist act. It was a terrorist act when you seen the guy mold and do people with a big ass ISIS flag harnessed to the back of the actual truck. Idiot.
Today at approximately 3:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, an individual drove a pickup truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing at least 10 individuals and injuring dozens more. After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. 2 law enforcement officers were injured and transported to local hospitals. The subject has been identified as 42-year-old Samsud Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented, and we are working to confirm how the subject came in possession of this vehicle. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations. Weapons and potential improvised explosive devices, IEDs, were located in the subject's vehicle. Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe. The FBI's Agent Bomb Technology, as our local law enforcement partners, have been working to determine if any of these devices are viable, and they will work to render those devices safe. The FBI, we are working with our partners to investigate this as an act of terrorism.
And this audio is the news people trying to figure out why their mic is not working from the podium. That's what this is, okay?
Subject's associates, we're working to ensure that there is no further threat.
See?
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates. That's why we need the public's help. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Samsud.
And the funny part about this, y'all, they are in real time. I think it's on this some of the clips I have for you guys, but it might be on the latest ones that I have to go grab for you. But they actually came back out to say that he was acting alone, and that there was no other people that was out there with him. He did this act alone, this terrorist act alone, and there was no other people that was, because they thought it was 5 more other people that was on the grounds with him carrying this out, but they found out that he was acting alone. So she had to even retract an absolution that is other people involved.
That Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe. The FBI's Agent Bomb Technology, as our local law enforcement partners, have been working to determine if any of these devices are viable, and they will work to render those devices safe. The FBI, we are working with our partners to investigate this as an act of terrorism. subject's associates. We're working to ensure that there is no further threat. We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates. That's why we need the public's help. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Samsud Dim Jabbar in the last 72 hours that you contact us. The FBI is asking the public's help. We're asking anyone who has information, video, or pictures to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please provide us with any information that can assist us in this investigation. Once again, thank you for your patience and assistance. For an updated statements or information, please check the FBI's website and our social media accounts. I will now turn over to Mayor Cantrell. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Agent Duncan, for your leadership and the full support of the FBI. First and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences to the families and loved ones that were impacted by this tragedy on Bourbon Street and in the heart of the city of New Orleans. And I know that the entire New Orleans City Council grieves.
Like the mayor, she's kind of giving her like a leeway out. Thank you for your leadership on the investigation. No, you're an idiot. You're an incompetent idiot. I'm pretty sure you had a superior that came in and told you, hey, you gotta, you made yourself look bad because you called the mayor out and stuff, and your credibility is shot. But the American people are so dumb that they won't demand the utmost integrity from the FBI because of the power that we have to ruin their life, that they're not even gonna look for that kind of integrity in how we do things. So let's just nobody's gonna bring it up again. Let's just mull over it and apologize to the mayor and then have her say you're a good person because she don't want to make another black woman lose her job. So it's wild. She has no credibility. You're part of an organization that could destroy an individual citizen's stuff rights. That could come and treat a misdemeanor like you a mass murderer. That's how like they did to the January 6th people. That the FBI did. So it's effective of that. That's why I'm saying nope. When they mess up, we have to be able to put a spotlight on it. Why? Because the scrutiny that they try to hold American people under is unrealistic and it's crazy. So when they be messing up like they always do, and where we got 12 years now of everybody just watching the FBI organization do the most criminal and unconstitutional stuff to American citizens, and none of the other agents, lower, just investigative agents, the agents that's in the field, they never turned on the FBI and said, you know what? We gotta investigate y'all, and we gotta turn this into the Inspector General. We gotta do what it takes to tell the media how corrupt y'all are and how much our investigation showing that y'all corrupt. They didn't do that. They did self-preservation. All the agents did self-preservation to the FBI organization, the CIA organization, the National Security Agency, and the Pentagon. They did self-preservation, so anything to preserve the organization or the agency, because if the agency shows that it needs to be destroyed and tore down, they didn't want to play no factor in that. But if that's what's got to happen, that's what's got to happen. We cannot have the Department of Justice and all the spider webs and tentacles from the Department of Justice destroying American citizens' rights and their constitutional rights because they're the greater good. It's ridiculous.
Along right with me, no doubt about that, and our people and our families. My priority will continue to be to ensure that victims that remain on Bourbon Street now will be serviced and removed as soon as possible. But
what is up with the
necessary to make this happen. I also want to acknowledge hearing from President Biden, all of our federal partners, but most importantly, calling Governor Landry this morning, responded with haste, and we do say thank you. And of course, a demonstration of a unified support is right here in this room. That's how we collectively responded to this tragedy in the city of New Orleans. The mission now is to facilitate, support, and coordinate safety procedures to keep our residents and our visitors safe. I've gone to the hospital along with Chief Kirkpatrick to visit our police officers, and considering their injuries, they're doing well. As I mentioned, this investigation is ongoing, and the FBI remains the lead in the investigation. It is an active crime scene as well. We are committed, no doubt, to uncovering all details surrounding this tragedy. And we're taking every necessary step to put even more safety procedures in place, especially given the nature of the investigation. I'm going to ask people to do not go around our secured area if there is no essential need to do so. It matters, and again, it is an active crime scene. I also want you all to know that the Greater New Orleans Foundation has set up a fund to assist victims, and that information will be provided to you. Thank you, Ganoff. Again, I want this unified team. We're leaning in. We will be relentless, and we will do everything that it takes to render real justice. This team will. I want to also just thank our citizens for your heartfelt prayers. New Orleans is a world-class city, and I can say that I've heard from world leaders all this morning and up until now, in addition to my brother and sister mayors across this country. They're calling, they're responding, and they're standing with the city of New Orleans. And what they always say and want me to reiterate, they understand the resilience of this community. And we're strong in that regard, and I will say second to none. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our governor, and as I mentioned, who has not wavered any in leaning in, providing the necessary support, and standing right with me, and I say thank you, Governor. And I know the First Lady is standing with us as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
I don't care about what the governor say. I do want to get to the senator because he was pretty pissed about, a lot of people bloviating, but at the same time, I only want to have the people have substance communication talk. So the mayor, the police chief, I guess we don't need to hear the police chief because we already heard from her, but the FBI agent to see her backtrack herself. So let me let the Senator Kennedy come in, and then we're gonna go to the next clip.
There'll be more details on that in the coming hours, but for now, that's the plan, that we're going to move forward and play the game. And again, we reiterate our thanks to everyone up here for the important work they're doing. We live in the fun and games world with what we do, but we certainly recognize the importance of this, and we're going to support it 100%. So thank you.
I'd like to bring up Senator Kennedy.
I wish I understood better why bad things happen to good people. If I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. For those people who don't believe in objective evil, all you have to do is look at what happened in our city early this morning. If this doesn't trigger the gag reflex of every American, every fair-minded American, I'll be very surprised. I'm here because these are my people. I'm here because these are my people's friends. I'm here because there are a lot of Louisianians that are scared tonight. I don't want them to be. There's a lot of information going around. Some of it is actually true. Some of it isn't. The federal government is now in charge of this investigation. By that I mean the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. I have not talked to the FBI. Maybe they've talked to my staff. I don't know. I did talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security a little while ago. And I told him that with all the respect I could muster, that we expect to put the full force and resources of the federal government behind this investigation. Our state troopers, our local police departments, our sheriffs, we've got many sheriffs here today, have been terrific so far. The federal government is cooperating with them. I hope that will continue. Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people. Catch these people. And then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation. But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth, and the people of New Orleans the truth, and the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know, and it's just not worth it. But I guess my final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Congressman Carter, I think.
Okay, that's enough. So I just wanted you guys to listen to that. So we'll go to the next clip now.
This is a Fox News alert, and if you are just joining us, the FBI doing a terror investigation after last night and this morning's deadly terrorist attack that they're calling it that happened in New Orleans in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street as people were celebrating at about 3:15 in the morning. The FBI naming the suspect who was shot dead by police after opening fire at police there, 42-year-old Shamsud Din Bahar Jabbar. The FBI treating the incident as a, quote, act of terrorism, saying that a black ISIS Islamic flag was being flown at the back of the truck and that other individuals are involved. Let's bring in Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel.
And all they about to do is commentate about it. Don't care about other people's their commentary about it. I told you guys that we don't really have to soak up time with people talking if they're not literally part of the investigation. Why even listen to them? But they filling hours on the Fox News, so that's why they bring in commentary, people to fill up the hours. But I'm good.
Street as people were celebrating at about 3:15 in the morning. The FBI naming the suspect who was shot dead by police after opening fire at police there, 42-year-old Shamsud Din Bahar Jabbar. The FBI treating the incident as a, quote, act of terrorism, saying that a black ISIS Islamic flag was being flown at the back of the truck and that other individuals are involved. Let's bring in Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel, who joins me now on the phone to talk to Jonathan and I. First, let's just talk about how widespread this investigation is and how hard it is going to be able to pinpoint exactly who.
Yeah, she's just an attorney in Louisiana. She's not the district attorney or anybody, so it's not worth it. Okay, so we're about to get into the nitty gritty now, y'all. Okay.
42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. He graduated from Georgia State University and served in the U.S. military.
Been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service.
Other soldiers who served with him as an IT specialist in the Army Signal Corps say he was the top of his IT class at Fort Gordon, Georgia.
I mean, from day one, you can tell that his knowledge in the IT field was better than everyone else's.
Peter Heap served 6 years in the Louisiana National Guard and the last 18 years on active duty as an Army sergeant. He took an IT class with Jabbar in 2010, and for the next decade or more, they remained Facebook friends.
I still thought that he was still a somewhat good guy. He was genuine, he was nice.
In 2020, he made this video about his budding career as a real estate agent in Houston, Texas.
What really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator.
And public records show that Jabbar remained an active American citizen after his honorary discharge from the military, voting in the 2020 presidential election. Heap said Jabbar used to make pro-Islamic posts on Facebook, but nothing radical.
I would not categorize him as being a Muslim extremist at that time when I knew him. Not at all. I think sometime between when I knew him and now, he got radicalized.
Now, the FBI says Jabbar's the same man who drove a pickup truck with an ISIS flag mounted in the back and committed a heinous act of terror. The FBI says he's the driver who mowed down dozens of people on Bourbon Street after 3 a.m. on New Year's 2025. The same man in military gear who fired on officers and ended up here lying dead in the street like many of his alleged victims. The FBI in Houston and the Harris County Sheriff's Office later confirmed taking action at a cluster of trailer homes at the corner of Crescent Peak Drive and Hugh Road, the same intersection where public records show Jabbar's last known address. David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.
Okay. So that's a little bit more details, y'all. I know. It's a little crazy, man. It's a little crazy. Get to the next clip.
Former Las Vegas Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton joins me now, the perfect guest for this. Randy, I want to start with the Two-Row app. You know, we know it was used in New Orleans to rent that truck. We now know that it was also used in Las Vegas. Could it be a coincidence? Certainly. But the
Okay, so they're talking about it's maybe I should go to, I don't know why it's not in order that give me a second, I want to see because I think it was a truck that got burnt in Vegas that they're talking about. So let me see what they do an introduction to this. So give me a second, guys.
former Las Vegas Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton joins me now, the perfect guest for this. Randy, I want to start with the Two-Row app. You know, we know it was used in New Orleans to rent that truck. We now know that it was also used in Las Vegas. Could it be a coincidence? Certainly. But the Two-Row app, I mean, to my knowledge, it's pretty, you know, a remote app. It's not one that's often talked about. It's not like they both rented through Hertz or a well-known company. Are you seeing anything with that connection?
Absolutely. I'm not a great believer in coincidences when it comes down to violent crime. There are so many coincidences and similarities involving these two terrorist attacks that I cannot fathom that they are not connected. Now, of course, this is what law enforcement has to do. They have to delve into the backgrounds of the identified people, the driver, the dead driver of the Tesla, and the dead suspect in New Orleans. They're going to have to determine what connection, if any, existed.
So let me catch you guys up because I'm gonna let them talk a little bit more because, you know, that at least they're gonna give some context to what they're talking about. But at Trump Tower Hotel in Vegas, there is a actual Tesla, the Tesla Cybertruck. They're like literally a truck that costs like $700,000. The Tesla Cybertruck parked in front of like the Trump Towers or something like that, and it blew up because it's a truck that actually they like Elon Musk, they built it where it takes bullets. It's bulletproof in a way. You get what I'm saying? It blew up or something. It kind of went into combustion in front of the actual place. It was 7 people, I guess, was walking or around that they got hurt by the explosion of it, but because of the truck was built for being bulletproof that it didn't combust and have like a bunch of his particles go all over the place. But the driver inside, they said that he died, and 7 people exterior wise, probably walking around the area, they got hurt. Okay, so I guess they're trying to say that was some kind of terrorist attack. I don't know how, because if anybody knows Cybertruck, it's expensive as hell. Even if you're renting it, like to have even the guy that let me not jump ahead of this, but even a Cybertruck, people know that it's built for its sturdiness and its toughness to get, even when somebody try to shoot at it, that it doesn't pierce into the car. So that alone, that's not a good car to use as a combustion situation, but it was able to combust enough to blow out the windows or something like that, or whatever that was, that ended up hurting the 7 people that was around it. But that they said that was an actual terrorist act that was in front of Trump Hotel Towers in Vegas. So they found out that the guy that died in the Tesla Cyber, because this is a driver that was in there too when it combusted, that person rented this Tesla from the same Turo. Turo is an app like Airbnb, but it's for cars. So the same owner that owns the F-150 of the guy that ran over people in New Orleans rented that guy, like the guy in the Cybertruck rented the Cybertruck from the same owner of the F-150 of the guy that rented the F-150 in New Orleans. Like that the New Orleans Massacre guy, he rented the F-150 that he used to kill all those people from the same guy that owns the Cybertruck at the Trump Tower in Vegas. Okay, so he got whoever this guy is on Turo, he got 2 automobiles that are, one of them is extremely expensive, that he's kind of got to do some insurance on, you know what I mean? But it's interesting. What's the chances that guy rented to 2 people that did a terrorist act? That's the question that they're having right here. So that puts that into context so you guys can understand what they're talking about.
Between them. And this is what the investigative process has to entail, is a deep, deep dive into the pasts of both of these individuals and those associated with them. So this is going to be a very deep investigation. When I first heard about the Tesla explosion, I was literally on the media concerning the New Orleans. And I got to tell you, a shiver went down my spine. And I thought, oh, no, don't tell me it's in my own town this is happening, too.
Yeah, Randy, you think about what happened here, and the car pulls up to the valet. The driver doesn't get out. Normally, you pull up to a valet, you'd hop out. Most drivers don't roll up to the Trump Hotel with camping fuel and fireworks in the back. So this seems very much intentional, but authorities hesitated to call it terrorism just yet. Do you believe this is terrorism?
I do believe that this will wind up be considered a terrorist act. I can tell you right now that units within the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department that are being utilized to conduct some of these investigations would not be brought in unless there was a suspicion of that type of situation taking place. This is a very, very complicated investigation. Then when you consider that it has to be done jointly with the New Orleans authorities, the FBI, who may wind up taking the entire case, we'll have to see. That this is a vastly complicated investigation. So thank God that no loss of life took place here in Vegas. But my thoughts and prayers are with the families and the loved ones of those who were killed in New Orleans.
Without a doubt. Randy, thank you.
Okay, so that's kind of gets you guys the update to the news with the Vegas Trump Tower explosion or combustion of an actual $700,000 Tesla Cybertruck, which I'm telling you, I don't even understand that. That's obviously that was a bad car. If you were going for it to combust or explode, that's a tough car, So that's an interesting story there. But they were linked it, and I'm not going to say, I don't want to do too much speculation, but they were saying that the guy, and I heard this in reportings, that the guy that was in the Cybertruck did some time or did some service with the gentleman, well, not the gentleman, the asshole in the New Orleans killing, that they did like service time together, or at least at the same time. So, but don't quote me on that until I report it. I'm gonna go grab a clip of it and see if they're doing some reporting, or maybe they're gonna reveal it in some of the stuff that we're seeing here. Okay, so let's go to the next clip.
Let's bring in for more reaction on what we learned about the Cybertruck explosion at Trump's hotel in Las Vegas. James Fitzgerald, retired FBI supervisory special agent, and Steve Rogers, former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force member. Thank you both for joining us. Steve, let me go to you first. I'm struck by what I heard in both New Orleans, there in Las Vegas. Thank you both for joining us. Steve, let me go to you first. I'm struck by what I heard in both New Orleans, there in Las Vegas. They're so slow to be able to say, hey, this was terrorism. I don't understand why you don't just start with the supposition that it is terrorism and then work backwards from there. I mean, you had an attack in New Orleans. It was using an electric vehicle. Here's another electric vehicle. And two incidents there in the morning at the Trump Tower. Are you kidding me? Why would that not be the starting point?
Jason, I'm so glad you brought up that point. That New Orleans situation, yes, a tragedy. Bring up the starting point about the people that were killed and et cetera. But I've got to tell you, I was so happy that you said that, because why have in New Orleans all these politicians running to the microphone for their 15 minutes of fame? What we saw happened in Las Vegas, we saw law enforcement personnel from the FBI, the local police, the sheriff, etc., at least bring credible information. There was no conflict over the FBI saying, well, it's not a terrorist attack, and the chief coming on and saying it is, and on and on and on. But I've got to tell you, the press here was good. We got some accurate information. Hopefully we'll get more information as we move forward. But in New Orleans, they got to get their act together. They brought no comfort to the people.
Yeah, Steve, I thought if you want to see a competent press conference, that was it right there. James, let me go to you here. They're in New Orleans. I mean, they're worried about the idea that there are still an unknown number of persons who were potentially involved and engaged in this attack in New Orleans. What is the FBI doing? What are they looking for? How do they hunt these people down? What's step 1, 2, and 3 to get this situation under control there in Louisiana?
Well, it's really steps through 1 through 1,000 they're undertaking now, the FBI and their law enforcement partners in New Orleans. First of all, they're going to do a psychological autopsy on the killer, the driver of the vehicle. And there'll be a physical autopsy, of course, but they're also going to go into all of his digital computers, phones, everything he has, anything on social media.
And they're showing that the death toll of the thing kind of went up now. That's pretty wild, See how that is.
Do all of his digital computers, phones, everything he has, anything on social media, to find out who he's been in touch with. Obviously, they're going to look into surveillance cameras throughout the whole city 24 hours before. They're going to go back to Eagle Pass, Texas, where apparently the truck originally came from, and they're going to try to piece everything together there to look for this. Now, what I'm very interested in is there are several IEDs found in the truck as well as in the New Orleans area. Bombs have signatures to them. And I learned this with the Unabomber. They have very specific indicators when they build bombs. So what I would want to learn from our bomb techs, the IED specialists, is in fact, were these similar type bombs? Were they recognized from someone overseas? Because there's a database of all different kinds of IEDs from internationally. And I want to see if these devices in this car and elsewhere are made by the same person. Were they amateurish? Were they sophisticated? That'll tell us a lot, too, about who the FBI and others are looking for in New Orleans and perhaps the rest of the country.
Steve, it's my understanding that federal law enforcement sent to local law enforcement an advisory earlier saying that vehicle ramming was a tactic to be looked out for. And in New Orleans...
Yeah, this is like, okay, it's more just speculation. Like I said, I don't really like it because it's counterproductive and everything. So I do want them to talk about that death toll rising situation because that's pretty hardcore. Okay. So let me see in this. Give me 1 second because I do got a reporting of that. Okay. So let me just go. I want to go straight to that.
Let's bring in our panel, former senior advisor for the State Department's anti-terrorism program, Morgan Wright, former FBI TDAC Deputy Director Scott Sweetow, and Director and Senior Analyst for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism at the Center for Security Policy, Kyle Scheidler. I want to begin with you, Scott, with what we just heard. So we do not believe this individual acted alone. That means there are potential terrorists on the loose right now. What is law enforcement doing to find them right now?
So are they not talking about they just let people know that
where he went for training? When did the cell go off? Reality is that beginning with the Obama administration and moving after 9/11, we look.
Yeah, see, I don't want to hear a bunch of people's opinion. Give me the news. You know what I mean? So let's go to this.
Sudden terror on Bourbon Street.
There were just bodies and the screams. You cannot think about, unhear that. It was chaos and very, very scary.
Everything in the car is hitting, it's getting thrown.
The vehicle ran through a crowd of people. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. They need to canal and Bourbon.
Just hours after the clock struck midnight, the driver in a pickup truck went around barricades, according to police, killing those celebrating New Year's Eve along the iconic street. At least 15 people were killed, dozens others injured.
This is not just an act of terrorism. This is evil.
The suspect, identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, a 42-year-old man from Texas who previously served in the U.S. military. He was driving a privately rented pickup truck from Turo, an Airbnb-type rental site for cars.
An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations.
Once the vehicle stopped, the driver reportedly opened fire on responding police officers.
Law enforcement returned fire, and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. 2 law enforcement officers were injured and transported to local hospitals.
Witnesses are asking questions about why the city's steel mechanical barricades weren't up prior to the attack.
There was police there at the entrance, a lot of police there, but the metal barricades were not up.
Bollards were not up because they are near completion.
The FBI, which has taken over the investigation, does not believe the suspect acted alone.
We're aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
And the Sugar Bowl for college football, scheduled to be held in New Orleans this evening, has been postponed.
All agree that it's in the best interest of everybody and public safety that we postpone the game for 24 hours.
And we are starting to learn more about the now 15 who were killed as a result of this attack, including 37-year-old Reggie Hunter from Baton Rouge. He had just texted his family Happy New Year a little earlier in the evening, according to his cousin, who tells us that he was someone who liked to laugh and tell jokes. He loved his family, loved his kids, leaves behind an 11-year-old and a 1-year-old just hours into 2025, Wolf.
Wow.
Deepest condolences to his family. Art Omar, thank you very much. I want to get right to our chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst, John Miller. He's getting some new reporting for us. John, what are you learning?
Well, Wolf, what we've been trying to do is develop a richer picture of who is the man behind this carnage in New Orleans. What do we know about him, and what can that tell us about motive? And what we've learned from multiple sources is that Mr. Jabbar apparently made, according to authorities, a series of voice recordings on video as he drove, they believe, from Texas to Louisiana to partake in these attacks, allegedly. The recordings talk about the turmoil in his family, the long-fought, bitter divorce he was going through. He discusses, according to officials briefed on the videos, where it appears they're made while he's driving, but it's in the dark, so you can't really see him on these videos, recorded apparently on his phone. But he talks about the idea of getting his family together for a celebration, which would have been a ruse so that he could kill all of them, but that over time, after having a series of dreams about joining ISIS, that he changed his plan to carry out this attack in New Orleans to create mass casualties in the name of ISIS. So what we're starting to see is an individual who was experiencing turmoil and stressors in life, who was going to act out in some kind of violent way, and at least, according to what they believe are his own words, decided to do this as an alternative to killing his family. In the recordings, he also has a last will and testament where he divides up what little money he has left after all the financial losses and setbacks he had suffered to family members. So they're beginning to get a picture of what was going on, and it seems to be what was going on in the background of this individual's life that was as much of a driver as any commitment to terrorism.
Yeah, John Miller, great reporting as usual.
Isn't that interesting? And this is just crazy. So he's going through a divorce, or he's been through a divorce, and the divorce and the rhetoric of the family is so bad, even to him losing his kids and losing his wife and all the other stuff is so bad that he decides that he wants to do a mass murder-suicide of his family and stuff. But he decides, you know what, they could, if I go, they could kind of get a little extra money from me dying, and I'll leave my money to them, and they might have a little bit more happier life than I'm having. But I still want to kill something. So let me drive way down from Texas to New Orleans. Let me take these hours and drive down there, and then kill a bunch of other innocent people that ain't got nothing to do with my wife and my ex-wife and my kids, and the issues that I might have, and the financial situations that I'm not able to kind of achieve all that. That's what I'm saying. You guys want to get married and stuff, but you get what I'm saying, and then you got you even got like some ridiculous podcasters that say, hey, marriage is a good thing for who? For who? You get what I'm saying? You get married to a person that want to go through the war of life together with you, and that's the mandate. The mandate that I like you. You're such a good person to me, or you're such a person that I actually am for your existence, and vice versa. That you both are telling that to each other, and let's fight this world together. Let's challenge this world. Let's achieve our goals, and let's really beat the conditions of life, and at the same time go through this endeavor of life and enjoyment together. And that's our mandate. Not that you gotta be my sugar daddy, or you gotta be my alpha male, or some stuff like that. It's that two people deciding that you're gonna fight this world together. That's the reason to get married. If you don't meet another person like that, then don't get married. this is how you guys rationalize if you should get married or not. It ain't about your comfortability. It's not about making sure that you live a cushy life or a comfortable life or a guy is the provider for you and all that. Nah. Because what's going to help him be a good provider for you is the same thing that's going to help you be a great helpmeet, or let's say a great partner, a support partner of the relationship, and that whatever he does to fight the war, he doesn't have to fight you too. You know what I mean? That if the world asks him to show his value, and that's the only value he has as a being, his value to you is that you care that he's a human being. But this is all fantasy, because in order to be a provider, you just got to destroy yourself to be a provider. And you're really going to have to be a provider if you get married to somebody and you start spitting out kids and stuff. Because now you got to feed those people. You got to make sure that they survive. And why make people survive that have no gratitude for what you're doing? Obviously, that's what his situation was. I'm going into the psychosis of it, okay? I'm giving an individual perspective on what they just reported about his relationships. And his answer is that he's going to take it out on total strangers that got nothing to do with him and got nothing to do with why his relationships and his marriage went bad, or his situation with his kids is the way it is, or what. You're an IT tech guy that actually did it for a decade with the military. In addition to that, you're doing real estate and understanding the business of real estate and getting certified to be a real estate investor. You got enough information and data and education and actual can-do situation, or at least you're skilled in a few things that are highly marketable in today's economic system. And you don't got to go work at Popeyes or nothing like that. You literally just wear your suits, wear your classic clothes, and go get another job and start all over again. Because the things that you're educated in, you could jump right in and be in a middle class, middle to upper middle class. So even that, because your arrogance and your ego about yourself is so magnificent and so magnanimous about how you want to be perceived in this economy. You don't want to be like an average guy. You want to be perceived as a higher middle class, a high level individual. And that rhetoric makes you hate your family, but not enough to give them the kind of treatment you about to give to a total bunch of strangers. It's ridiculous. That report is ridiculous, y'all. I don't know how y'all stomach through that one. I really don't. I really don't know how you stomach through that one. That report was ridiculous to me. I don't like none of it. To tell you the honest God truth. And it's the people gone now.
For a celebration, which would have been a ruse so that he could kill all of them, but that over time, after having a series of dreams about joining ISIS, that he changed his plan to carry out this attack in New Orleans to create mass casualties in the name of ISIS.
And him being in the military for 10 years doing IT, how was y'all 20s? Were you making close to like $60, $70, $80, $100,000? Were you? Nah. He had a better adult age than most people in this country. This is ridiculous.
So what we're starting to see is an individual who was experiencing turmoil and stressors in life, who was going to act out in some kind of violent way, and at least according to what they believe are his own words, decided to do this as an alternative to killing his family. In the recordings, he also has a last will and testament where he divides up what little money he has left after all the financial losses and setbacks he had suffered to family members. So they're beginning to get a picture of what was going on, and it seems to be what was going on in the background of this individual's life that was as much of a driver as any commitment to terrorism.
Yeah, John Miller, great reporting as usual. Stand by. I'm going to get back to you in a moment or so. I want to get some more now on the federal investigation from CNN's Evan Perez. Evan, authorities have released a photo of the man identified as the driver of the truck that plowed into that crowd in New Orleans, killed 15 people, and injured dozens of others.
That's right, Wolf. And that photograph is being put out there by the FBI in part to try to drive tips from the public. They have asked, they've set up a website, fbi.gov/Bourbon Street attack. They are asking the public to send in any information, any videos, anything about where this suspect may have been over the last several days, over the last several weeks, as they were developing this plot. And we also know, obviously, as we've reported previously, that he was an Army veteran. He served in the U.S. Army from 2007 to 2020, both in active duty and in reserve status. He actually deployed to Afghanistan in 2009 for about a year into early 2010. And, you know, again, part of the picture, as John was just describing, you know, is coming in.
That means he did 13 years in military getting paid, y'all. Getting paid. He not struggling doing that. They're not going to have, the employees of the military, like, barely could deal with their finances and stuff. He getting paid. It's just the abundance of him getting paid. Like, when he's getting sent to Afghanistan and stuff like that, and if your wife think you a simp, she thinks you're a weak man because you doing everything you can to take care of her, but you leaving her alone for years and months and stuff, you're in trouble, buddy. Your dominance will have to linger when you're not there. And I'm pretty sure, sound like how he sound. He loved his wife and he loved his kids and he loved his families. I think they said he got, I heard that he got divorced one time and remarried and stuff like that, and it's just ridiculous right there. So it's just crazy.
Into focus now for the investigators. A lot of his problems and whatever might have been his motivation to then associate with ISIS, which is clear, according to the investigators, that is exactly what his intent was, again, is what's driving all of this. Wolf?
And I know, Evan, you're also getting clarification from law enforcement officials on possible accomplices.
Right. The FBI is still trying to determine whether there's anybody else who might have been involved. Obviously, they know that he was trying to associate with ISIS. It's not clear whether he was talking to anybody in particular to try to plot this attack or whether, again, this was more of a self-directed of the type that we've seen before. We also know, Wolf, that they were looking at video, surveillance video, that showed 4 people who they at least thought initially could have been involved with maybe some of the IEDs that were found elsewhere in the French Quarter. The FBI later determined that those people had nothing to do with carrying out this attack. So at least for that part of the investigation, that part is closed off. They are still, however, looking into the possibility that there are other people who could have been involved, again, in either helping to construct the IEDs or who may have known about his plans before he carried it out. All of that is still on the table, Wolf.
What more are we learning about the man who was driving this truck that was used as a deadly weapon last night?
Yeah, they ask some redundant questions now. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so that kind of gives you guys some information on that. So let's go to the next clip.
Right now, we are following 2 major breaking news stories for you this morning. First, a manhunt is on for the other suspects tied to the New Orleans terror attack that killed at least 15 people on New Year's Day. And we are learning more about the suspect behind the attack and how he was radicalized by ISIS.
And police are narrowing down their search for the suspect who detonated a cyber truck right in front of a front hotel in Las Vegas. But while no official connection has been made between the incidents, there is a common thread tying them together. You're
so it did get a powerful combustion.
It's
just the car.
I am Todd Pyro. Let's get right.
Where was an actual.
Oh, that is interesting. It did give a hell of a combustion to it. It's just that the car was so powerful, so well built that it didn't explode like crazy. But look at that. Look at that. It did. Like, that's a hell of a power to it.
New Year's Day, and we are learning more about the suspect behind the attack and how he was radicalized by ISIS.
And police are narrowing down their search for the suspect who detonated a cyber truck right in front of a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. But while no official connection has been made between the incidents, there is a common thread tying them together. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday morning. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer.
That is so funny. That is so funny because that it was meant to explode into the front of the lobby area, probably of the Trump Tower, and maybe kind of collapse the building or something, or hurt the building. That's interesting. Wow. So obviously Trump ain't at Las Vegas, like Trump Tower in Las Vegas. He's not there. So they did that in order to, like, destroy something that's Trump or something like that. So that's liberal. What's going on here, y'all? Wow. Look, it's the first time he's seeing that video. I'm sorry.
Carly Shimkus has the day off.
And I am Todd Pyro. Let's get right to Doug Lazater with the latest on the New Orleans attack. Doug.
Good morning. Congress is looking for answers here as this investigation has expanded well beyond New Orleans, but we'll begin there as the true magnitude of this attack is really beginning to sink in. Early yesterday morning, a truck rammed through a crowd that had gathered to celebrate the new year, killing at least 15 people and wounding a number of others. We are learning the identities of at least some of the victims of this horrific attack. The alleged driver, 42-year-old Shamsud Din-Jabbar, an Army veteran who at one point had deployed to Afghanistan. Police in Houston are searching what is believed to be the driver's home there. Investigators say an ISIS flag was found on the truck, and this is being investigated as a terrorist act.
We're a tough people. We're going to come back through this, but it's difficult. I mean, the loss of life still goes up. It's 15 now dead and still many struggling, fighting for their lives. I think what people want are candid answers. You don't need to sugarcoat this. You know, if there's some uncomfortable things we find along the way, let's get that information out.
President Biden emerged last night at Camp David.
I know I can speak for all Americans when I say our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who were killed, to all those who were injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know I grieve with you.
President-elect Trump said this: the Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil. And investigators are still trying to determine whether there are any links between this attack in New Orleans and a cyber truck that exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas yesterday, killing the driver. Todd and Ashley.
Okay, Doug Lazater, thank you so much. We're going to bring in former FBI special agent and former Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, thanks for joining us this morning to talk about this. You know, I heard someone on the network say last night that the criminal just has to get it right once, but law enforcement, they have to get it right every single time. So what is happening with the FBI and local law enforcement agencies? Do they just not have the ways and the means to get this right every single time? Do they not have the manpower to do this?
Sure, they have it. They have the ways and means. They have the manpower. What they don't have is the ability a lot of the times to think like they haven't thought before, to think outside the box. And I think this is a perfect example. It's not the first time we've seen it. It won't be the last. But when law enforcement sees a problem like this, and they see that people go to these locations day in and day out, that enough threat appears, so they put up a bollard to keep cars off that road, and something goes wrong, they just think, well, we'll get to it. We'll put a car there. It'll be all right. They don't think like the attacker. And if they had, they would have put something on the sidewalk. It doesn't matter if it's a 1,000-pound rock or a car on each side of the sidewalk, as well as a car in front that could maneuver when somebody needed to go down the road. It's really that simple. Think outside the box and don't be afraid to say, we don't do it that way typically, but we're going to try it.
So what is the FBI doing at this very moment?
Well, now we all speculating. Like I told you guys, I'll be trying to see if they're going to do some kind of reporting, but I think they do the reporting in the beginning of it. But let's go to the next clip.
At how terrorists moved money. We looked at how they moved men abroad to train them and looked at how
yeah, I think we watched this clip already, so let's go to the next one. Let's see how this plays. This is some wild stuff. So I think we're pretty much at the end of all the reporting. That gives you guys up to date. And I know that they did a press conference today, so might look that up too. So let's see what this one says.
Authorities try and figure out whether or not these two are connected.
Oh yeah, so they're kind of talking about the Cybertruck and stuff. So yeah, I think we did that one already. Yeah, we already did the Cybertruck. I think we did that one.
We don't have any proof right now that the Cybertruck had any connection like the ISIS flag.
And what questions do you still have that maybe those of us that aren't in law enforcement would not think to ask?
Car company ever mentioned as a way to easily rent?
Yeah, we did the Cybertruck, so they just kind of have bloviating about it and everything like that. So look, I guess that's everything up to date. Let me see if there's some new reporting that maybe I want to grab and show you guys about this before I end this and we start going back. We start going into some bigger conversations and some different things that's going on, and different topics that we want to talk. I want to talk to you guys about, you know, some interviews and different stuff about a lot of the crazy politics and the Trump transitions to even the lawfare, additional to the psychosis of all this stuff that's going on, man. And yeah, what happened to, let me see, because I do want to talk about this. Yeah, this is what I wanted to play. Yeah, see, this is what I'll be talking about. I'd be knowing that, you know, I wanted to kind of point out, because they did start communicating the victims and stuff. So where's that at? Why I don't have that in here, victim? Because I wanted to make sure I give respect to, because they started to actually name some of the victims and everything. So I'm wondering why is it not in my grouping here? Okay, so let me pull that clip in real quick. I knew that it was something that I was forgetting. I apologize for that, guys, because they started to talk about the actual victims and who's the people that's really got hurt during this stuff, and we got to give some respect to them. You know, give some acknowledgement of that, because this is real people that got affected by this.
How is this impacting you?
Yeah, look.
Yeah,
Orleans, first father of two, Reggie Hunter was on Bourbon Street celebrating the start of 2025 with his cousin when he was killed. That's according to his family.
And the New York Post reporting that Louisiana native Tiger.
Yeah, I want to start that over again because I don't know what's going on with this clip or my system, but let's do that again.
Orleans, first father of two, Reggie Hunter was on Bourbon Street celebrating the start of 2025 with his cousin when he was killed. That's according to his family.
And the New York Post reporting that Louisiana native Tiger Besh was in his home state for the holidays. He is a former Princeton football player. And 18-year-old Nakira Dado had just graduated high school. She had reportedly snuck off to Bourbon Street to ring in the new year. She had been pursuing a career as a nurse and was described as a ball of...
They said she snuck off, so like what her mother and them did, like telling her that she can't leave the house and everything, or she was supposed to leave the house or something, you know. Which that's always interesting that, you know, she carries herself under her father's rules, so it might have gave her a better life by doing it that way. But it's terrible like they said she snuck off, so they didn't even know she left the house or something. It's pretty wild.
Sunshine.
Nicole Perez was celebrating with friends. She leaves behind a 4-year-old son. Other victims identified include Kareem Badawi, a recent graduate from Baton Rouge Episcopal School, and Hubert Gothrow, whose family shared on social media that his remains were found at a medical center after being reported missing. And 25-year-old Matthew Tenadori, who worked as a technician at the Superdome in New Orleans, where the Sugar Bowl was supposed to be played last night.
The other victims' identity have not yet been released. We're keeping their families in our prayers this morning.
Just horrific, and so many of those lives lost way too soon. That young man, a graduate of Princeton, a football player, and a girl who just simply went out to go have fun on New Year's Eve. Just horrific as we can.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's really terrible. So let's play that again to give them proper respect so we can get a little bit of the people that was named, and then I got one more clip to play for you guys, and then I'll let you go and we can get back to some news coverage, and you'll be pretty much up to date to what's going on with this.
First father of two, Reggie Hunter was on Bourbon Street celebrating the start of 2025 with his cousin when he was killed. That's according to his family.
And the New York Post reporting that Louisiana native Tiger Besh was in his home state for the holidays. He is a former Princeton football player. And 18-year-old Nakira Dado had just graduated high school. She had reportedly snuck off to Bourbon Street to ring in the new year. She had been pursuing a career as a nurse and was described as a ball of sunshine.
Nicole Perez was celebrating with friends. She leaves behind a 4-year-old son. Other victims identified include Kareem Badawi, a recent graduate from Baton Rouge Episcopal School, and Hubert Gothrow, whose family shared on social media that his remains were found at a medical center after being reported missing. And 25-year-old Matthew Tenadori, who worked as a technician at the Superdome in New Orleans, where the Sugar Bowl was supposed to be played last night.
The other victims' identity have not yet been released. We're keeping their families in our prayers this morning.
Okay, so and there's one more clip that I want to show you guys. Yeah, but that's so brutal. So where is it at? Where is it? Where is it at? Let me grab this last clip, guys. And I will be done. Okay. Because I want to, it kind of takes you more into this nuts situation with his wife and everything. And I wanted to keep the context of how ridiculous this guy was, how selfish he was. An egomaniac, or at least he thinks highly about himself, but nobody else around him did, or his family did. That ain't our problem. Not the people in New Orleans' problem, what was going on with you in your life. It was, I think most men in the last 40 to 50 years took a submissive, or at least a subdued approach to women in the last 40, 50 years. You know what I mean? And all it does is tell you, yes, I do agree that it's people that's got married that shouldn't have got married, people had kids that shouldn't have kids, and they're living in a whole life of regret. They're 20 to 30 years after they made that decision that they're figuring out, wow, man, why did I do that? But, dude, you don't involve people into your process of the decisions you made.
Meanwhile, we're learning new details about the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar. Authorities say he drove the pickup into the crowd and opened fire before being shot dead by police. Jabbar is an Army veteran born and raised in Texas. And we're just learning that investigators have finished searching his home in Houston. Brooke Taylor is there right now. Brooke, to you.
Hi, Molly. The FBI SWAT teams were here overnight. They have officially cleared this area. This trailer park behind me is where records show his most recent address was listed to. So we're starting to learn more about who he was. The FBI says that he was posting disturbing videos on social media just hours before this attack, saying that he was inspired by ISIS. He had this desire to kill. Authorities also say there was an ISIS flag found in his car. So again, this trailer park overnight, we have video of where SWAT and the FBI swarmed for hours until late into the night. Officials also spent hours clearing everyone out who lives nearby, just taking precautions. So here's what we're learning. Shamsa Din Jabbar was a U.S. citizen from Texas. According to the FBI, he served in the Army between 2007 and 2015 as a human resource and IT specialist. He was deployed to Afghanistan for a year during that time. Then he stayed in the Army Reserve as an IT specialist until 2020 before he was honorably discharged. Now, in 2020, he posted this YouTube video here pitching himself as a real estate agent in the Houston area, claiming that his military experience would help.
I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch. So I've taken those skills and applied them to my career as a real estate agent, where I feel like what really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator.
Well, court records show he was having big money problems, racking up tens of thousands of dollars in debt after a failed real estate career. Now, he was married twice. During his divorce filings, he mentioned that he could not keep up with his house payments anymore and child support. In 2020, a Texas judge granted his second wife a temporary restraining order against him. The order required him to stay far away from making threats or causing any physical harm to her or their children. Authorities also revealed that he rented the truck he used in the attack right here in Houston. I was able to speak to the truck owner on the phone. He confirmed to us that he used the Turo app, an app which does not require you to meet face to face. Now, there is a mosque just down the road, literally 1 minute away from here, but the community leaders have told everyone there not to speak to the media, telling them to stay united. So we continue to learn more about the suspect, and of course we'll keep everyone updated on the very latest, Molly.
Brooke Taylor right there on the ground as investigators look for answers and also potentially any other suspects in this case. Brooke, thank you. Rich?
Molly, let's bring in retired FBI agent Bobby.
As a human.
Yeah, we don't need to hear people pontificate about it. That was good information for you guys to hear. Him even kind of saying he couldn't pay his, keep up with the child support and the payment to the wives, and he had such a contentious situation with his second wife, ex-wife, I guess, and she had to get a restraining order placed upon him and stuff. That's just crazy. Hey man, keep it with your family, doc. Don't jump in the car and be a coward and go like kill a bunch of people because you don't physically gotta be in interaction with them. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So your personal issues, I'm not saying, you did it in the name of ISIS because obviously you got radicalized by them and they gave you better purpose for your anger or something. It's ridiculous. But look, our society's broken, y'all. And it's been broken for 40, 50 years. We're interacting about it in the last 4 years. I think it's the last 4 to 5 years. We've been communicating about it, men and women, rich and poor. We've been interacting about the different course of decisions and the psychosis of the environment and the culture and the civilization that we have in this country. We've been communicating about it in the last 4 years, but really, this is a 40 to 50 year issue that's coming to a head, and I think even. Like I said in my previous podcast and stuff, women don't even like how much men have subdued themselves to elevate them. Like women regret that men have kind of took a step back in order to bring women forward. But that's what happens in any dynamics, a business or anything, a negotiation or anything. Somebody's got to see ground because they're not the it factor. They're not the like a lot of social influencers, you ain't him. If you him, you don't take no stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But the average, like 90% of all human beings on the planet are not gonna be Steve Jobs or Tim Cook or 50 Cent or P. Diddy or Jay-Z or John Jones or Denzel Washington or, you know, Tom Cruise or Steven Spielberg or James Cameron or Michael Bay or Bill Gates or Elon Musk or oil tycoons in Saudi Arabia or tycoons in America, oil tycoons in America. They're not gonna be in that power of control. So if we teach the whole world that you don't even give respect to a hard-working man that works in a mine or that works on an oil field, that works as a garbage man, that works as a stock shelf stock person in a grocery store or a manufacturing place or something like that, or just like people that are just busting their ass, they try to do the best they can. If we don't even tell people that people need to be respected, no matter what their economic system is, you need to respect each other. Just for the respect one gives upon you and you to give back to them. And if it says no, you got to be of this value economically in order to get a certain amount of respect. You're going to have a bloody, messy, wild world, and it ain't going to look good. It ain't going to be pretty, because that's a lot of anger. That's a lot of frustration. That's a lot of passive aggressiveness. And if that's a society that y'all want to live in, y'all level up culture, that's a society you want to live in, where you're trying to manipulate and psychologically analyze 99% of the population to achieve something that most people don't got the startup cash flow, or they don't got the jump off point to ever be in a situation where they make it $200, $300, $1 million in a year. It's ridiculous. But this is what you guys want. So it's a lot that goes into this, and I know that I went into a social dynamic conversation, but it's all encompassing. And now that you've seen this whole presentation, you see how the story is. Okay, so that's it. I'm done. We're done with this conversation. We're done with this situation. I just wanted to make sure that I kept up with it, because once you start reporting on it, you need to follow through. So that's what I did, and I'm gonna do some catching up on some other stuff that I reported on. But my name is Daris D. McKinney. This Individual Perspective Podcast, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on this. Happy 2025, Happy New Year's, and there's a terrible way for us to have to start, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So see you guys on the next episode, and please follow, subscribe, and like. Hit those buttons. We need the support. We need the algorithm. If you guys can, put $1, $2 into the Venmo or the PayPal account, and we can grow it with panels and everything like that. We're working hard. So check you guys out. Thanks for Happy New Year's, and thanks for checking out us at Individual Perspective Podcast. My name is Daris D. McKinney, and I'll see you in the next one.